Good morning, good morning. I hope you're safe and well and you've got over Storm Babette and all of the other issues that we've had with the weather lately. As you can see, I'm back at home now after last week's video from Edinburgh. Anyway, we had a really interesting thing happen last Friday. Obviously, once the newsletter was up and running, and it wasn't actually announced until Monday. And that really interesting thing was the 98 mandatory classifications, which the HSE had notified to the World Trade Organization way back in April, were published last Friday. And I'm just going to put a link below this video now with the actual email, obviously in web format, because from there you can download the new mandatory classification list. And what this means is for all of the classifications where which are being brought in, first of all, if you're in GB, you can use them voluntarily now. Now, the date where they become legally required in the UK is a bit later than expected. We thought it was going to be Q4 2024, but actually the date itself, let me check, is the 20th of April 2025, which is actually Q2 in 2025. So we've got a longer implementation phase. You can use these voluntarily. And we've done quite a lot of analysis for the chemical regulations self-help group people. Shout out here to Helen Morris of Sartomer who've done similar analysis. And when I put them both together, we sort of arrived at a common analysis. Now, there are actually something like, out of the 98, there are 15 where there are differences. The others are all where UK has adopted what's gone into either the 17th or the 18th ATP to EU CLP. So that's good news. That's reducing divergence. But these other 15 are a bit more interesting. One of them's been taken off the harmonised classification list and has like a null entry in GB. So that means it's not classified as hazardous unless you have some extra information, in which case, please let everybody know about it. There are a couple of substances which are ones with extra hazards in the EU, which can be voluntarily used in GB because it's seen as being new information. But the other 12 are a problem. Now, one reason they're a problem is because if they're to do with pesticides or biocides, then these are also given under either plant protection products or BPR. They are mandatory to be used as a whole in that jurisdiction. And that means that even if you've got like a new classification in the EU that doesn't exist on an endpoint in GB, normally for non-pesticides and non-biocides, you go, right, I can use that voluntarily. No, if it's a pesticide or a biocide, you have to use the exact classification. And also your label has to be the same, because your label is actually given by under BPR, for example. You've got the label in that jurisdiction, and people who are selling into different member states in the EU can find they need different labels, one for each member state, because although the classification is the same, the competent authority under BPR says, no, we want to see different P statements. So that's the first thing. If it's a pesticide or biocide, you have to use what is valid in your jurisdiction. Now, the other problem that we have is where there is major divergence between the two jurisdictions, and that's either more or less hazardous on the same endpoint. And in that case, you go straight to jail again. You have to use different classifications in the EU and in GB. Now, in some instances, it's a bit more subtle, because it's not the classification on the substance itself. It's the classification based on when that substance is in a mixture. And that's given under M factors, specific concentration limits, or what we call specified ATEs. So sometimes it looks like they're the same, but you need to check that bit where it's, SCLs, ATEs, M factors, because, okay, the substance might be classified the same, but if you're using it in a mixture, then that mixture information is different. So on 12 substances out of the 98, we have got major divergence And this is a big deal because it's the first time we've had divergence from GB. Up to now, with harmonised classifications, what's happened is the EU have gone, right, we're changing all of these. And the UK's kind of been stuck with, well, we were using this and you've gone and changed it on us. So we were kind of using the old set of harmonised classifications for certain things. But this is the first time that the HSE have proactively gone, you know what? And of course, it's been signed off by politicians and all the rest of it. But you know what? We think we've got a different technical opinion to you in the EU and at ECHA, and we're going to insist on this in our jurisdiction. So it is a big deal. Now, you might be thinking, well, what's happening with that other World Trade Organization submission from way back in August, I think it was? And the answer is that couldn't be brought in just now because it's still under the discussion deadline at the World Trade Organization. So that's going to be a real watch this space moment. Now, if you want some more information on all of this, then the best thing to do, if you're not already signed up, is to sign up to Chemicals Coffee Time, our weekly email newsletter. And I'm going to put the link below this video now. Excuse me, as you know, I cannot type and talk at the same time. And anyway, that's the link going below here, because we go into all of the WTO submission, the 98, in detail, and we have a list of the chemicals that diverge, which will give you a starting point. But, you know, you need to look at the new list of chemicals. If you've not already done it, you need to see what are the things that are changed, what can I use now, and what are the things that are going to be different, GB to EU. And that applies both to people in the UK selling into the EU and people in the EU selling into the UK. And it especially applies to everybody in Northern Ireland. So the days of understanding harmonised classifications and just all using the same thing, they are definitely, that door is closed. Divergence is here, and we just have to be prepared for it and learn to live with it. Okay, that's what I wanted to tell you about today. And also, we need to keep cheerful while all of this is going on. And Ali has done us another Lord of the Rings mashup video. She's found one, which is Harry Potter, Star Wars, and Lord of the Rings. In fact, in a way, you could almost, I mean, obviously this was pre-Game of Thrones, but there are some quite similarities with Jon Snow's trajectory as well. There we are. Okay, so that's it for me for today. Sorry, it's been quite a long video, but there was a lot to talk about. This is such a big deal. Take care of yourselves in the meantime, and I hope to be able to chat to you again next week. Bye.